What if I told you that the biggest thing holding you back isn't a lack of talent or resources or luck, but actually it's a story that you've been telling yourself? What's wild is that it's not even your fault. Today, we're going to break down the science of limiting beliefs, why they shape your reality, and most importantly, how to break free from them. So, what are limiting beliefs? Many people hear the word limiting beliefs and they think of some, woo woo concept. Well, it's not. In psychology, beliefs influence behavior, and the behaviors, the things that we do, our habits, influence the results that we get in our life. So, a simple definition is that limiting beliefs are simply thoughts that you've accepted as truth, and they keep you in patterns of behavior that don't serve you. So, a common limiting belief is, I'm just not a confident person. And if you believe that, you avoid social situations, you don't speak up, you miss opportunities, and this reinforces that belief. The cycle continues, but it's all based on a thought and not necessarily a fact. So, the reticular activating system, the brain's filter, decides what information is important. So, if you believe I'm not good enough, your brain is going to find the evidence to prove that it's true. Neuroplasticity is the really great news in all of this. It's kind of the unsung hero. Your brain can actually change. In fact, it does all the time. So, beliefs are just neural pathways that have been reinforced over time. There's a saying when we talk about neuroscience or we talk about the brain, we say neurons that fire together wire together, which means once you have a thought, your brain creates a neural pathway for that thought. The more often you think it, the stronger that neural pathway becomes. And so over time, we can build habits of thoughts, these really strong neural pathways that feel like an ultimate truth. With neuroplasticity, the great news is we can change that. We can start to reinforce new thoughts, more empowering thoughts and beliefs, and actually make those the stronger neural pathway in our brains. So the self-fulfilling prophecy concept is that your belief shapes your behavior, and then your behavior ultimately leads to certain results or outcomes. And when we see those results or outcomes, it reinforces the belief that we had that put us in that position to begin with. So let's say you have this belief that you are bad at sales. Well, you'll avoid practicing, you'll fumble in your conversations, and you'll never improve. And so that belief is reinforced, is leading to the behaviors that actually result in not really being good at sales. And so when you see these results, you're going to say, see, I knew it was true. And that will reinforce that belief. And that's what keeps us in those cycles. That's what keeps us stuck. So where do these limiting beliefs come from? So there's a couple of different ways that we can develop these limiting beliefs. And honestly, we could take off the word limiting and just say, this is how we develop beliefs, right? And the only reason we call it limiting is because it's not getting us to where we want to go, right? So the way that we develop these beliefs, including limiting beliefs, is through childhood conditioning. So things we've heard from parents or teachers or society in general, past experiences, so a failure, a rejection, or a trauma can shape our perceptions, and then cultural and society influences, messages that we absorb from media, education, and so on. So if you grew up hearing things like money is hard to make, money doesn't grow on trees, you will likely avoid taking financial risks or investing in yourself because you've developed this belief over time that, money's hard to come by. And so you'll behave in a way that that reinforces that belief. So how do you break free from these limiting beliefs? So here's four action steps that you can take. The first one is you have to identify the belief, right? So you got to ask yourself, in order to even start this process, you may ask yourself, what's a belief that I hold right now that might not be true, right? Just give yourself that window of possibility. And then, for example, maybe you have this belief that I'm bad at public speaking. The second step, once you've identified it, is to challenge that belief. So where did that belief come from? Did you get up in front of the class in third grade to give a presentation, but you really didn't prepare for it, and so you fumbled through it, and your buddies laughed at you, and you just realized, like at that moment, you were like, I'm not really good at this, right? This is I'm bad at public speaking, and so you never thought to question that, right? You just carried that belief. So now we want to question that. Now we want to challenge it. Where did this come from? And is there evidence that this is always true? And that's a key concept too, because when we're trying to shift a belief, sometimes we've held on to it for so long and it's such a strong belief that for us, we're not going to be able to say, bing, bang, boom, that's not true, right? Like it's not quite that simple most of the time. Sometimes it is, but most of the time you're going to have to find a little window, a little crack, a little flaw in that belief that will give you that ability to possibly look at it from a different angle. Otherwise, your brain's just going to shut it down really quickly, any challenge to it. So is it always true? Is this always true every single time in every scenario? No matter what, have I ever tried to better myself in this area? So those are ways that we can sort of challenge that belief that once we've identified it. Then we need to rewire the belief. Remember, I said neurons that fire together wire together. So it's not a one-time event, right? This is a practice that we want to develop over time, where we continue to practice and continue to reinforce this new, more empowering belief. We're going to replace it with something that's more empowering, right? So we don't just take it out, we have to find that replacement for it. So rather than I'm bad at public speaking, we might say I can get better with practice, right? It's not something I've practiced, and so I may have low skills in this department, low in the experience department of public speaking, but I know I can get better with practice, right? And then we use visualizations and affirmations. Your brain doesn't know the difference. We have mirror neurons that are, making it so that when you visualize an activity, your brain doesn't really know the difference between a real or imagined success. So you can close your eyes and picture yourself delivering a perfect speech, and your brain is going to start to build that belief in that ability and in that capacity. Sometimes when the belief has come from a trauma or something deeper, we have to actually reprocess that trauma before we can fully, release and heal that belief. So that isn't always the case. So you may want to explore that a little bit when you're looking at your beliefs. Always start with the ones that, you can change with your cognitive restructuring, right? Your brain can make those decisions, replace those limiting beliefs, use your visualizations and affirmations, and if that works, then it was a cognitive belief, right? Sometimes the trauma is going to be stored. We know that trauma is stored in our body, so those cognitive strategies may not always work. And so if you find that you're trying those strategies and you're not getting anywhere, it may be because there's a trauma beneath that belief that needs to be healed first. So just keep that in mind as you're going through this process. Don't give up if you start, trying to restructure these beliefs and aren't finding success. You just may need a little bit different support. But the fourth thing is to take small actions to prove it wrong. So it's not enough to just think about public speaking, doing it. You have to actually go out, step up, and actually behave in a way, do some activity in the real world that's going to prove that belief wrong, that's going to help you reinforce this new belief. So, for example, maybe you're just speak up in a meeting, something low stakes, or practice giving a speech in front of a friend or someone that you feel comfortable with. So now you've actually taken some action steps to start to prove that belief wrong, which is going to help reinforce that new belief. Your brain is not your enemy. And when we learn how our brain works, how it's set up, we can actually use that to our advantage to find more happiness, more joy, more peace, more success. And it's really, in a lot of ways, it's simple science. And if we follow what we know to be true in terms of how our brains work, and we use that to rewire our brains for success, to keep our joy and our peace, strong, it's going to help us, build that resilience, and then also be able to rewire with intention, right? We can choose the way that we want to rewire our brain. It's constantly rewiring itself anyway. We can use that to our advantage to get the results that we want in our lives. So you're not stuck with your limiting beliefs. You get to choose what you believe, and your choices will determine your future. So it's very exciting when you think of it in that way. And I get super excited about it and really just want the world to know. I want more people to understand that we have a lot more control, we have a lot more power than we give ourselves credit for sometimes. And so I want you, if anything, to feel empowered to take charge of your own joy, peace, happiness, success in life. Comment below, what is one limiting belief that you are ready to let go of? And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with your friends for more brain-based strategies to level up your life. Thanks for being here. I look forward to seeing you next week.